delighted to formally welcome everyone to today's webinar, First Contact Resolution, How to Get It Right First Time, Every Time. Delighted to be joined by two brilliant speakers. To Neris Caulfield from Injection Consulting, welcome back to our webinar series.
Thank you, Rachel.
And for people who haven't come across you, could you do a bit of an introduction?
Yeah, so I'm Neris Caulfield. I do anything to do with contact centres. So I used to be in the heart of contact centre operations, and now I audit contact centres to help them understand how they can use people, process and technology to better effect, to deliver a more effective operation and an effective customer experience.
Brilliant, delighted to have you today, and also delighted to welcome to his first webinar, Jafar Adibi from TalkDesk. Welcome, Jafar.
Thank you, my pleasure.
And for people who haven't come across TalkDesk, do you want to give a bit of an introduction to who they are?
Of course, Jafar Adibi. I'm the head of AI and data science at TalkDesk, and my background is about 2 years of experience on building data science products, and I have done mostly toward understanding people behavior, customer analytics, consumer intelligence, viral marketing, and generally how to analyze people behavior in long term.
Brilliant. Well, welcome to your first webinar. Just a reminder that we're taking a recording of today's webinar, and that will be available later on this afternoon, normally about an hour after the webinar has ended, on callcenterhelper.com/recorded-webinars. And to carry on today's discussion, we do have our usual chat room available. It's on callcenterhelper.com/chat. It is in a separate window, but with today's big screens, I'm sure you can put them side by side and carry on the discussion. The added bonus of being in the chat room is that you can download a copy of both our speaker slides by clicking on this link here. And you can download a chat log at the end of the session of all the tips and things that are going to be discussed. Another added bonus of being in the chat room is that we are running our traditional champagne, box of chocolates, or an Amazon gift voucher for the best tip. If you just write #tip to leave your tip and #question to ask our panel a question, and we will come back to them soon. So I want to start the webinar with a poll. So the question is, how many contact centre metrics do you report on every month? Is it 1, 2 to 4, 5 to 9, 10 to 19, or 20? So I will just launch that. Neris, I don't know what you're seeing. What would you guess as what people are reporting?
So I do quite a bit around performance analytics. Performance indicators. So I'm going to guess that the majority, over 50%, are going to be in that 10 to 19. There will be some in that 20 plus, and there might be a couple in the 2 to 4 as well, just to adjust going. Forget the rest, just want to concentrate on the CSAT and NPS and FCR. So be interesting. I'm really looking forward to seeing it.
So I will share the results. So 45% 5 to 9, 29% 10 to 19, 18% 20 plus, 5% 2 to 4, and 2% of 1. Is that the sort of spread you were expecting, Neris?
It is. I think it's interesting because there's a slide that I look at where you look at what's operational, what's agent, and what's customer. So if you're not reporting on attrition monthly, it's not that it's not a stat that you aren't aware of. So yeah, no, I think that's a good spread. 20 plus 18%. Wow, crazy world we live in.
Yeah. So I will hide those, and I think it's a great opportunity to hand over to you, Neris. I will make you the presenter.
Thank you. Just a second. So, first of all, happy Halloween, everyone. I don't usually wear this hat. I just thought it would be appropriate for today's webinar. So, I've called this webinar, is it counting, this presentation, is it counting bubbles in the water? And I'm really keen to get your feedback as a really wildly diverse people in the webinar. So So keen to hear what you've got to say in the chat. But I think it is quite a difficult metric, and I guess that's why there's so many people on this chat. If this was a chat about service level agreement, we'd arguably not have as many people in, because it's quite binary. So first off, if FCR were another acronym, I do quite a bit of judging around contact centres, and of course FCR is becoming a lot more important, a lot more prevalent in the metric mix, but it isn't the only thing. It's going to sit alongside all the other requirements to deliver a fabulous contact centre, and of course contact centre operations managers, team managers and advisors have got so many things that they're juggling to get so many areas of their business right. But to Lisa's point, you know, Albert Einstein gave this very relevant quote, and we do live in a crazy world in contact centres. I mean, what other environment, business environment, is measured so tightly? And it's just it's just so inherent in us in contact centres to measure everything. And of course that is important, but just because you can measure it certainly doesn't mean you should manage it. And I think when Lisa says that they're taking an overhaul of looking at the metrics that they're managing and making sure they're relevant, and they're relevant for that business, and they're relevant now, is so important. I feel like every 6 months people should say, right, what are the metrics that we're measuring, and why are we doing it, and is the measurement right? Because so many times I say to customers, what's your service level agreement? And they'll say 80-25. And when I ask them why, it's a groupthink mentality, isn't it? It's because everybody does, and therefore it must be right. Well, it might not be right for you. So I add that as a note of caution for first contact resolution. And to highlight the crazy world, ultimately, main goal is to deliver an efficient and an effective service to customers. And it's the metrics are the what, of course. So what we're looking at is the above the line metrics that say, how are we doing from an operational perspective? How are the advisors doing against one another on the stats that we've chosen to assess them on? And then what's the customer experience statistics? And customer experience statistics are kind of the new kids on the block. We're like, oh, we probably should take an outside in perspective of what's going on. And CSAT, NPS, sentiment, and first contact resolution are part and parcel of those metrics that are now giving us a perspective of the customer and saying how well are we serving them against their expectations, not against our expectations. And when I say new kids on the block, I know they've been around for 10 years, but it's still relatively new. I guess the one thing is really important is that what sits above the what is the why. And I think, was it Scott that might have said that in the web chat, that it is all about understanding that root cause and understanding what is driving people to make contact in the first place, what is driving a lack of ability to not deliver the answer to their question first time when that's appropriate. So we'll come back to this slide, but I think it is important that you've got this is the number, but you've got to understand below why. Why is that number happening, and what influence have we got on changing it? Now, to Lisa's point, no stat is an island, and that is so true in contact centres. So I go to loads of places who driving for SLA 95.5, and the unintentional consequence of that is underneath transfers are going here and there and everywhere because anyone's picking up the phone. The skills-based routing, isn't clever enough. It's just a bit of a mess under the bonnet of that stat being delivered. And similarly, throw AHT out of the window, and you've got a scenario now where the quality teams are throwing tons and tons of stuff in, and your AHT is going up so much, you're almost, some customers I go to are over servicing I do believe that's a thing, over servicing their customers, and you're missing calls. So AHT, I know industry-wise it's been seen as a really bad thing. It's a really bad thing to measure agents on. It's not a bad thing to measure from an operational perspective, because it tells so much about what's going on. Similarly with first contact resolution. If you've got 90% first contact resolution, and that's because every time somebody rings and says, can you tell me when my insurance renewal is due, and you can answer that question, does that make you a good contact center? Does that make you a good business that you've had to make that customer pick up the phone to ask that question? Absolutely not. So FCR without CSAT is problematic. So please remember that it can't be measured independent of the other stats that might show or paint a bit of a clearer picture about the whole. So first contact resolution specifically, I believe there's 3 really important parts feeding into that, and that's technology, people, and processes. So let's just talk about processes first. So why did we get here with first contact resolution? Well, there was a real commercial drive, because I think what was starting to get understood because of understanding more and getting a single customer view from the CRM is that actually Mr. Smith had a 5-minute call, and then 2 days later he had another 5-minute call. So all of a sudden at 80 pence per minute is costing us as a business £8. Mr. Smith has had to make 2 calls because he wasn't very clear from the first call, and the poor advisor who's had to take that second call is becoming quite disenchanted because they've had a bit of a, you know, Mr. Smith, oh, I rang and asked this question and now I don't understand, or nobody's got back to me. So advisors getting frustrated. So it makes total sense to go, hang on a minute, AHT in this instance on its own isn't the right measure, because it could be causing all these unintentional consequences. So let's just have an 8-minute call, answer Mr. Smith's questions in entirety, and then it's just costing us £6.40, so nice commercial saving. The customer hasn't had to make any extra effort over and above, and the advisor is satisfied because they've got that lovely sense that you do when you put down the phone as advisor. I've given that customer everything they need, and they've gone away now knowing what they didn't know before they made contact with me. And how, what should the measure be? There's an industry standard that sort of plays out again, saying, well, if 65 to 75% of our contacts should be measured right first time. And again, you've got to say, no, that if you're the speaking clock, if 90% of your volumes are people ringing for asking about opening times, then no, that should not be your FCR. Similarly, if people are ringing for something highly valuable and something that's inevitably going to take 3-4 steps within a customer journey, and that's right and proper for that situation and that scenario, then you don't measure those. So I think it's FCR is for the appropriate communication, and for those appropriate communications and those you deem you should be able to answer first time every time, then really why shouldn't you be targeting yourself on 100% of those relevant conversations? Because what I see communication into a contact center, irrespective of channel, is it's coming in, and actually there's an awful lot that can be done to stop that customer having to make any effort to contact you. If you're an Amazon, you know, I've been a customer of a food delivery, you know, you get your meals every week. I've never contacted them, and I don't have to. I do feel some brand you know, equity with them because they send me a physical thing. But I guess contact avoidance is your absolute must. And those are the things that you should be driving and working with your marketing teams, with your ecosystem of, you know, all the different component parts that are delivering the service, to say, guys, you get that bit right, and they won't even have to contact us for us to measure whether we've answered that question rightly or wrongly. On the other hand, there's brands and businesses where contact is really a positive thing. If you've called for a test drive of a £120,000 car, or even a £20,000 car, the point is that you want that customer to call again, or you want to make that call out to the customer again. So when it's a real brand engagement, it's right and proper that there's lots of communication going on. Mortgages, buying a house, there are lots of scenarios where actually FCR doesn't have a place, because the component parts of that journey should have a place. Mortgage, have I had it approved or not? Can I go and see that house? Those types of things, but not the entire customer journey. So just be careful about when it is appropriate or not to measure first contact resolution. So somebody said about, I think it might have been Scott again, that you're doing voice analytics to determine the contact drivers to get that real sense. And of course, everybody, IVR selection is hugely problematic, and so many people just press 1. So not very regularly used to understand what's happening and why people are calling. Call outcomes and call dispositions, whether they're in your CRM or your contact center application, are valid, but they're only valid if the advisor community totally understand why it is they're expected to enter a call disposition 70 times a day, and that those disposition lists are really succinct and clear and reviewed consistently. I go to places and their disposition list is like 40 long, so don't expect the advisors to trawl through that when you've got a post-processing time of 10 seconds for them and get it right. So I understand why voice analytics is coming in. That said, I still feel that call dispositions have got their place at the moment, particularly because you've got average handling times for then those specific scenarios sitting behind those call dispositions. But voice analytics, yeah, amazing, great. And then also, again, I bet you if you did all that analytics and then you went and did a huddle in the morning and said to the guys, right, tell us about yesterday. Why were people calling? Let's get some of your feedback, and what do you think we as a business could do to stop that contact? They would help. They would help, because it's frustrating them that they've got frustrated customers, and they would give probably very similar insight to the analytics that is coming out from the AI. That's not disregarding the value in AI. It's just saying, don't forget, these guys are a font of knowledge, and their profile should be raised as people who are talking to your customers 70 times a day. So their perspective is really, really important. So I just say get huddles to understand how contact avoidance and first contact resolution can be measured effectively. So in terms of measures, yeah, one and really done. I have interesting scenarios where I go to a contact center and the advisor dispositions as one and done. And that is because the customer has called and they said, sorry, I can't help you. I need to pass you over to X in Y department. Well, who's that one and done for, really? Because that's not one and done for the customer, because they've told you their scenario and then they're having to retell it to X in Y department. So that's not one and done. Again, it's marked as one and done when the next action is you going to call them back. So think about it from a customer effort perspective. It's not one and done, is it? They haven't been able to just give you a call and then forget about it because they've got to wait for the call back. There are some customers that still aren't including digital channels in the scenario. So, you know, I might have emailed 3 times and then I have a voice call. The voice call gets my question answered, but nobody analyzes the 3 emails that have happened beforehand. And I guess the most common way of looking at first contact resolution is deciding that Mr. Smith has called on the 1st of the month, and providing Mr. Smith doesn't call back after the 30th of the month, then we'll assume that the answer to Mr. Smith's question has been answered, and that question was resolved, and we're going to take in all channel interactions. We're going to have a look at every interaction that we've got. So, but what if Mr. Smith calls on day 40, and actually that's because, I don't know why, but he's been on holiday, he was expecting an answer and he hasn't got it. So sometimes the windows that FCR is being measured in aren't quite long enough. And then the other thing is agent target. I think, like with average handling time, it's dangerous to put first contact resolution in as a target down to the agents, and it's not fair either, I don't think, because what can they do? All they can do is say, I'm not feeling empowered enough, actually, or knowledgeable enough, or it's just. And what happens when you measure agents on first contact resolution is they push the customer to say, so that's done yet then, yeah, Mr. Smith? So just to be clear, everything that you need is done. And the customer's going, well, no, not really. Yeah, but it is, isn't it, Mr. Smith, in this instance? So you get into this, and that is a real life scenario, and actually John T has told of that scenario. So I would suggest having it as an agent target is a little bit dangerous. But to that point, I'm really keen to see how you guys do it. So I'm going to hand over to Rachel to do a poll.
Yes, so I will share my screen. So the poll is, how do you measure first contact resolution? It's a multiple answer one, so I will launch that now. So the options are, do you ask the customer during the contact, post-contact surveys, repeat contact reasons in the CRM, no repeat contact in a given time frame, or we don't currently measure FCR. So Nerys, what do you think people are going to kind of vote on?
I suspect the most common will be no repeat contact in a given time frame.
Yeah.
Repeat CRM is interesting. So I really don't know. I probably do one contact center a week. It's not a wider frame of reference as is on your panel here. So yeah.
Well, I will close it down and share the results. So actually at the final second it just overtook, so 38% said no repeat contact in a given time frame. 37% of people say we don't currently measure FCR. 22% say post-contact surveys, 16% ask the customer during the contact, and 10% repeat contact reasons in the CRM. Is that an interesting kind of result, Nerys?
Yes, it is. It is. I do wonder when the post-contact survey is going to die a death. When you've got voice analytics going on, you should be able to ascertain that for yourselves, both sentiment and actual answer being given. But I totally get that that's the thing at the moment, because very few people have got that technology in play. But yeah, that doesn't. 37% don't measure it. I wonder if the 37% are on this webinar because they're thinking about the value of measuring it. But yeah, interesting.
So I will hand back to you. Oh, there we go. To continue on your presentation.
Yeah. So just to
Yep, I can see everything.
Yeah, fab. Let me just get rid of us. Okay, so if we take some really clear, obvious scenarios that come into contact centres all of the time. So WisMO, I get a lot of where is my order calls coming in. And again, if you think of Amazon as an example, and those types of delivery customers for subscription or really high value items, I've done quite a bit of in logistics, and yeah, it's a painful process, and it absolutely shouldn't be. So someone in the business needs to recognize how problematic it is, and then create a business case around it to deliver better communication. So marketing, get your communication better so the expectations are being managed. Let's get some SMSs going out to manage the expectation of the customer. And if the customer does call in and we have to defer to another part of an organization like the warehouse or the driver to understand where that parcel is, then where it's safe to do so, let's use some unified communication so we've got presence and instant messenger going on, so that the customer isn't having to be called back or isn't having to wait until you have that conversation with the driver or the warehouse. So that's a real clear scenario. Loads of contacts about WisMO, and yet there's so many ways in which, if the business worked collectively together, people, process and technology, you could just get rid of all those calls. Similarly, first notification of loss, so claims, highly emotive in some instances, but those of you who've had, needed pet insurance recently or had a car accident, those can totally be done quite easily if it's not, if there's no real big accident or what have you, over text message, and you're just text messaging back and forth. But actually, insurance companies have got themselves in such a muddle that tons of communication is happening with first notification of loss, and then you're going over to the claims department for a transfer, and very messy customer journey. So to your point earlier, Rachel, customer journey and understanding what your ideal customer journey should look like, and then seeing where your actual is, that's your gap analysis. And you've got to go, what can we do to unpick some of this? And you either use analytics to do that, or you just sit on a whiteboard and map it all out with the information and intelligence you've got through your call recording. Very quickly, people are so important to getting first contact resolution right. I'll bang on my drum. Contact center are front and center of an organization. Anybody else that comes in and thinks they're more important is absolutely on another planet. You own the customer experience. You know what's happening. You tell IT, finance, marketing and HR what they need to do to support you, to support the customer. And that is so important, because IT might come in with a tool and it's like, well, that's not helping us deliver FCR. I just feel that contact centers, and it's lovely judging in the last couple of years to see the profile being raised, to see CEOs going down on the calling floors and understanding this metric that they're looking at and judging, and not having ever put a splitter on their head before. Make sure that those other partners in the organization understand that the contact center is the most critical business department. So yeah, massively important for driving FCR, because if you don't get the investment in the right things, and if the rest of the back office don't listen to the contact center, the FCR is going to continue to not be being delivered effectively, and the customer's going to carry on having to do effort. And then from the advisor point of view, there's lots of important things that feed into that advisor to make sure that they feel empowered, make sure they've got influence, make sure they know what they're talking about to be able to deliver first contact resolution, because it is painful being an advisor on a call and not knowing the answer to a customer, especially when that customer is of high anxiety or high emotion. And then technology, and I will hand over to Jafar, but essentially, it's really important, I think, to have a unified queue and to have everything coming into the same interface instead of having silos, because silos are going to create barriers, and those barriers exist for customers. So you need to go to an omni-channel solution. And just very quickly, from an omni-channel perspective, let's not forget that there's very few in the omni-channel world at the moment. They might think they are, but actually they're sitting in this multi-channel space or this multimodal space. And what they need to get to is omni-channel, whereby you can handle all communication from all digital and voice channels within the same interface, and you can pivot into, so if you're on a web chat and you need to take it to a voice call, that information is that you've captured on the web chat goes over to the same advisor or another advisor with all that context, all that history, and the customer it's seamless for the customer. So that's omni-channel, and actually we're only in a world where very few people are delivering omni-channel, and I think it's so hard to deliver FCR without an omni-channel solution. So back to where we were, there's a lot of stats going on. FCR is a critical customer experience statistic, but there's a lot going on under the bonnet of it, and it needs a big effort across the business. So I guess it's a program of work that you just say, right, let's spend a month looking at FCR. Let's not let the other stats will, you know, let the resource planners, let the quality managers look after them. But from a customer experience perspective, let's get a handle on FCR and contact avoidance and CSAT and focus in on those root causes. So tackle a slice at a time, and I think you'll see improvements in FCR where it's relevant.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Nerys, for that. A lot of insight and a lot of tips and everything coming through on the chat room and questions. So I think great chance to hit the ground running. So Alex has sent in a tip saying, as part of the quality assurance checks, include did you get this right first time as a measure. If the assessor believes they didn't, call the customer back. It avoids another frustrated inbound call, leaves a great impact on the customer's impression of the business, and makes sure the advisor wants to get it right next time. So we've had a question in from Paul who said, do people tag contact drivers by voice analytics, advisor manually, or system tagging? Jafar, I don't know whether you're able to answer this one. Not sure whether we have him in the background. Nerys, any ideas, or should we bat it back to the audience again?
I think all three, to be honest with you, and I think they're all complementary, and probably the voice analytics piece is important, but then the context has to come alongside it, and I think it's only the advisors that can really add the context to it. And then the systems piece, I'm assuming, what am I assuming? I don't know what you mean.
We can bat it back to the audience. Paul, if you could explain a bit further, then we'll get a better answer.
Yes, that helps. Sorry, I was on the mute.
No, don't worry. So Diane sent through a tip saying, train your agents to ask the customer if they have any questions about what has been discussed at the end of every call. Agents should also ask the customer if they have any additional queries they'd like to discuss. So we've had a question in from Chris who said, would you recommend sending out SMSs to customers with a specific number to call back on in order to improve FCR? Nerys, what are your thoughts on this one?
Probably not, because again, I'm putting effort into the hands of the customer, and I should be responsible for working out as and when that customer has been given the answer from the business that they need. You might want to do it as a bit of a control group, so you've changed some processes, you've changed some customer journeys, and you just want to do it for a week. But I think it's really important to then pull back and go, the onus is on us, not the customer, to tell us when we're getting first contact resolution right or wrong.
Fab. Paul's actually just put in the chat room, system tagging is identify process used by the advisor by what systems they access.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. So if they've gone onto the knowledge base, if they've gone into the CRM, if they've gone into the accountancy,
we're kind of
yeah. I think the other two are probably more important.
Fab. So we've had an opinion in saying quality should not be adding to calls. This should be used as a tool to help drive KPIs, including FCR. Nerys, would you agree with Andrew?
I would have done a couple of months ago, until I've been into a contact centre where customers are calling with a really fundamental, simple question, and then the advisor is following up saying, is there anything else I can help you with? It's just belying common sense. Because it's in that quality monitoring form, they feel they have to say it, they know that the customer has said, okay, that's great, thank you ever so much for your help. And then they go, oh, well, I've got to tick that box to say, oh, God, I haven't done that bit on the quality form. So I do think quality forms sometimes defy common sense.
So Debbie said, she sent in a tip saying, it is key to set realistic expectations. It's equally important to make sure that the customer has understood the next steps and that the agent has and steps that the agent has outlined. And one more before we head on. Andrew sent in a tip as well. We've removed AHT from the sales teams as we want to make sure we are fully understanding the customer's wants and needs and they are buying what is important to them. It cuts out on customers calling back to amend the order. So I think now is a great time to hand over to Jafar. Jafar, are you able to put up your presentation or would you like us to run it?
You can run it, that's fine.
Fab. Okay, I will hand that over. If you could just, oh, that's the chat room. There we go, perfect. If you could just put it into full screen.
All right.
Fab. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much and thanks for having me. I just want to make sure if I click, it goes to next slide. Okay, widget advent. Okay, thank you. So thanks very much, Neris. Great insight on the whole contact center and the FCR. So in next 14 minutes, I would like to talk about a quick view on FCR status and stats, and I tell you why these numbers are important. And then I talk about how AI might help, because my background is AI, and I would like to tell you that AI indeed might be able to help FCR, generally speaking. And then I tell you one aspect that I am interested in, and that's making agent a super agent to improve your FCR. These are 3 steps that I go over. Okay, I was looking at some numbers in past 20 years, and it was quite interesting. I read an article from Purdue University about what is the good FCR rate in 2000. It was 78%. And then a recent report by Call Center Helper magazine, it was which is almost 2020. I know we are is 2019, but it's almost about 20 years later, is 75%, and that was quite interesting. That the FCR went down. I mean, with all some errors we can imagine, it has not improved, at least. Then I was thinking, what could be the reason that this happened? I was thinking about 3 possible reasons. One, the overall contact center market is improving, right? We have more e-commerce, we have more SaaS products, we have food delivery now, we have pizza delivery, we have many things that people get on the phone, get on the internet, their phone, and they would like to order something. If the delivery wouldn't happen, they may call a contact center, and many other things. This is number 1. So e-commerce is getting there, but to let you know, e-commerce is only maybe 10 or 11% of the entire commerce. So there's more room. So more e-commerce will happen in the next 20 years as well. Number 2, people problem and issues are getting more sophisticated. If you think about 20, 30 years ago, you go and buy a pizza, come home, eat the pizza. That was it. But now you have many ways to order the pizza. There is an app on your phone. Maybe you call, maybe you send a text. There are many ways to contact, and many things goes wrong. And even the communication now is not that easy as used to be in 20 years ago. If I always use this example, if you talk to your grandma, it's easier to understand comparing to your daughter. The new generation are so sophisticated that's not easy to understand what are they talking about. And just imagine that conversation happens in the contact center world. And finally, I think that technology has improved a lot, and maybe it's time to make sure that we use as much as possible. These are 3 reasons. Probably you know many more other reasons that why this 78% went to 75% after 20 years. If we go to next slide, I don't know if are you clicking on me, but thank you so much.
We're clicking, so if you just let us know.
You're clicking.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what's okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. So you might say, okay, why this is important? I tell you to quick math. So assume you have 200 agents. They take about 50 calls every day, and cost per call is $6. And just imagine if the average FCR is 75%, you are 70%. Okay, and you think, okay, 5% doesn't matter, but I tell you, this is talking about $1 million only for the call that you're losing for 1 year. And there are many more costs: training costs, the time of supervisor, the time of people go and talk in social media right now, the CSAT factor, everything. These numbers jumps up so fast. And maybe it's time that we take this seriously. And I tell you how, if I look at this in more detail, if you go to next slide, we can see that there are three things I believe are important in contact center: operation, technology, people, and Nellis kind of mentioned people and technology and operation, all of them. And you heard from her that how important are these factors, and they sit in the heart of contact center. It's very interesting that how FCR is connected to these three. And if we go to next slide, I can tell you that, okay, you have operation, technology, and people, and you're always thinking what to improve FCR, like address common issues in your operation, improve support, streamline communication, simple things that matters. From technology, do you have the right software? Do your agent actually hear the clear voice? I mean, simple things that matters. Do you have the right infrastructure? When people, do you have any outage more frequently, or you were okay in past entire year? Do you have the right data platform? If you need sort of data, can you get it? And do you have enough automation in your technology? And then people are the most important one, as Never said, is like, can agent autonomously deliver what you ask for? Can you measure agent performance? How about the customer analytics? Do you get enough information from the people to deliver them the service that they're expecting, to just address the issue in the first time they call? So these are the things that we can do to improve FCR. And the question that we have is, if we go to next slide, the question is, can AI help? Can AI help in operation, technology, and people? Maybe you might think that how AI might help here. I'll give you a couple of examples that what happened in past 20 years. 20 years ago, we had some robot golf carts, but now we have totally autonomous cars. It's unbelievable. In past 20 years, how much improved the autonomous car is there. I mean, we don't trust autonomous car yet, but there are a lot of people, they already trust it, they use it already. In 20 years ago, we were looking on text to figure out some what they call medical informatics, but now you have totally automated cancer detection from the X-ray, from MRI, from CT scan, all of this. If you remember, maybe even 5 or 10 years ago, these spams in your mailbox was killer. I mean, you were trying to figure out how to get rid of it. But I have Gmail, and I barely get a spam these days. It's very good. I mean, spam filters, which is a challenge, but now it's already gone. If you remember Siri was quiet, not successful when it started. You know, when did it start? It was around 2005, like literally 15 years ago. But now it's working just fine. You talk to Siri and it delivers. And finally, Deep Blue. Deep Blue, if you remember, almost 20 years ago, they beat the chess championship. They called IBM Deep Blue, that was handling, was go against the champion of chess, and they made it. And the more interesting was AlphaGo a couple of years ago. So here that I was trying to say, hey, AI was, if we were skeptical 20 years ago, but now we can see it delivers. And now if I can go to contact center, you can see that how AI can help. There are 4 layers. Customer intelligence, basically it comes that before customer calls you, you need to know a lot about the customer. It goes to conversation intelligence. When someone calls you or texts you, doesn't matter which platform, there are many information happens using conversation. From the voice, you could be able to extract agony, pain, being sarcastic, and then you extract voice to text and you analyze what was the reason the customer called me. There are many information. And the next layer we talk about interaction intelligence from A to Z. What was the waiting time? Who handled the call? What type of agent was that? Was agent called? Was customer called? Because if I know, if I told the waiting time is 5 minutes and I realize that the caller was on the call for 20 minutes, I should expect I have unhappy customer, and I have to make sure that I make the service and I deliver right now, because I have to be called. I know you are not happy. Let me help you. I mean, all of the information I call interaction intelligence. And finally, you go to contact center intelligence, which is like the God's view on top of the contact center. You can see everything and you can figure out what is wrong with my contact center, what is right, in which day of the month I get better results, in which days of the week, maybe in the morning, maybe afternoon. So you should be able to look at everything all together. And now let's go back to those three items that we have and how AI can deliver. Generally, AI promise is a couple of things. AI should be able to discover things. AI can discover rules, like what kind of people I cannot handle the request, who are those, or what kind of problem I cannot address. This is what we call discovery. Or prediction. Am I getting how many calls about what topic? Can I predict that tomorrow in the afternoon, I get many calls about the new feature that are released last week? I should be able to predict and prescribe. Your prescription, it tells you, okay, you're getting too many calls. How about if you do this? This is AI can deliver. And some alert. Is there anything wrong, like outlier detection? If anything wrong in my contact center, if one of these KPI that I'm interested to observe and monitor, hey, let me happen. I don't have time to look at everything every day, but while I am interested, maybe just one day, if something is wrong, it jumps up. And recommendation, maybe it tells me those who use this document to answer this question, also they look at other documents. And then optimization and assist that I talk later. So if we go to, if we back to those three operations, next slide, you can see that AI can have some operation in terms of optimization, automation, outlier detection, in technology from infrastructure, data platform, and providing better quality, and people and customer information, agent performance, and CSAT. So this is how it works. And then when we move to last part of my talk, that I want to tell you that how AI can help agents, super agents, that they actually deliver and have effect on your FCR. If we go to look at the some numbers that Neris mentioned, and some of their audience actually they also mentioned that how training is important. This is the research have been done. It's quite interesting. The number of hours and the net FCR. The more you train people, you get better FCR. And can AI reduce this? If you go to next slide, you can see that I believe AI can reduce that time, just bring entire graph to the left side. Or if you look at the CSAT in the next slide, you can see that this is the current status, the research that they did. If the better customer service means the better FCR. That's a like proven track record of the research. But can we AI deliver and make it to the just all the way to the right side? And I tell you, yes, it's possible. We are getting there, but there are certain steps that you have to. When we talked about AI and contact center, you have a smart routing, you have a smart dialer, agent coaching, agent assist, IVR optimization, skill-based routing, attribute-based routing, all of this. You can think about two aspects of this. One, enhancement. How can we enhance human intelligence, and how can we optimize human intelligence? If you talk about attribute-based routing, that's sort of optimization, because you want to make sure that the right person take the right call. But that's just the first step. The next step, ultimate step, is smart routing. How you look at all data points and send the right call to the right agent. And agent assist, if you can see this ultimate enhancement. How can we enhance human intelligence that he doesn't need training? He doesn't need training. He won't need training at all. Or maybe maybe rather than 400 hours, only 40 hours is enough, because we can provide help and we can provide insight at the right time. So if you go look at these metrics, two major things. Optimization is all about mapping the right problem to the right agent, because the challenge of AI and the promise of AI to figure out which agent is good at which subject, at what time, under what condition, talking to what type of person. All of this comes together, and we cannot handle that manually. You have to let the machine decide. And enhancement, how you enhance human intelligence is how you bring the right insight in front of the agent and not the data. We understand agents, they have many applications open, and they're not looking for more data points. They're all about bringing right insight. If I tell the agent this type of question, the answer is in this document at paragraph number 6, and this is how you answer that one, period. And even you do not have enough training, still you should be able to answer that. So this is basically when we talk about enhancement optimization. And if we look at how it works, generally speaking, in the next slide, if you look at the right-hand side, there are some documents that your contact center, your client has. It's a knowledge base, they have CRM data, there are lots of conversation, they have a lot of old conversation. The AI system tap in all of this to understand what was it. Intent spotting tells me why people called me. What can I extract any insight out of this? I should be able to go as an AI system, look at the past entire year of your conversation, 1 year, 2 year, whatever it is, or maybe past quarter, whatever is relevant, and try to extract all of this. And now I have a brain. I tell you what the brain means quickly, but this brain, how it works is that if I tell you the word galaxy, what does it mean? Maybe you think about the star, but if I say Los Angeles, suddenly you think about, oh, is LA Galaxy is a soccer team. That soccer in US called soccer, in Europe called football. So suddenly you understand what the galaxy means. And this is how our brain works. We look at the words together, and now you can understand what the customer is talking about. And I should be able to answer that one. But if after the galaxy, she says S9, suddenly you say, oh, I see. Galaxy S9 is a Samsung phone, as S8 is also another one. And this is a brand, this is a phone. Now you can carry the entire conversation. This is a very simple example how a brain works. Just imagine that when someone is talking, an AI system analyze in real time, go to all of the data you have, and can find the most similar question someone asked yesterday. Someone helped? Okay, show me that answer. I should be able to deliver to the customer. Or go to your data knowledge base. What is the right paragraph in the right article? This is not sci-fi movie anymore. This is happening, and you look at like Facebook, Google, Netflix, Apple, all these companies, they're tackling the problems that they have, and they use AI to deliver this. Let me summarize this. So in summary, if we look at everything, AI can help us to find the right channel, like virtual agent or live agent. And on the right-hand side, I thought about some of the metrics that you can think. So intent spotting, if you find why people are calling you, you can add this to the right agent. Small routings helps us to optimize agent intelligence to match to the right problem. And agent coaching, automatically, we discussed about voice processing and speech processing. I should be able to go over every single call, not sampling, every single call, and figure out, did agent cover this? Was the caller happy at the end of the conversation? Everything should be able to process by the AI system, no manual. Always human is in the loop to look at this and make sure everything is correct, but the current AI system is able to do that. And finally, agent assist, the real-time assistant to the agent at the right time that agent needs. These are, if you look at this as a set, it can help on many metrics, including FCR, because FCR is important, that you want to make sure that whoever called they end up the happy customers at the end of 5 minutes or 5 minutes call. And every call is important, no sampling. And I told you already how your numbers indeed associated with this FCR. I stop here just in case, and if you don't know, I am the head of AI and data science at TalkDesk. TalkDesk is the enterprise contact center, which provide routing, omni-channel engagement, assistant, and analytics, empowered by TalkDesk IQ with 40+ integrations such as Salesforce and Zendesk, and App Connect partner that you can use any third-party application. And thanks for having me. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Jafar. Lots of interesting information there, and as Jafar was saying at the end, you know, lots of things happening with the TalkDesk suite. So if you would like to see a demonstration of some more of that and how FCR and AI fit together, if you could just vote on that, and they'll be in touch afterwards. So I'll just let that run. Fab. So yes, lots going on in the chat room. So I will go back over to that. We had a tip in from Alex who said, while it's simple to measure if that customer makes contact again, these follow-up contacts are far too often new contacts, which can further distort the FCR numbers. It's a clear example of theory versus reality. What I do is send the customer a summary of the contact and what we've done. And if they're not happy, it's not truly resolved and they can reopen the original case. That's a true FCR measure. Neris, what are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, it's very customer focused. It's involving the customer still, but it's done in a much more elegant way, I think, than perhaps was discussed earlier. So yeah, I like that.
Fab. So Daniel sent in one saying, a good idea to improve FCR is to promote and provide easy self-service tools for your customers to use. Jafar, what do you think about that one?
Absolutely. The assumption is that you already have it. The assumption is that you have some service tools such as a chatbot or whatever it is, or going to a website, and they couldn't figure this out, and now they talk to you. Of course, it should be part of your strategy to provide that. Absolutely.
So we've had another tip in from Anthony who said, look at stratifying FCR by time of day, day of week, could highlight trends about particular shifts, customer patterns, or some departments, shutting early prevention, the query being resolved, plus possibly others. So we've had an opinion in from Craig who said it could be great to measure repeat contacts alongside FCR as separate measures. This is because repeat contacts might be an indication of problems in the ACD, call routing, clarity of messaging, or a number of other areas. So I think we've got time for one more tip from Nicole, who said QA don't have to make the call, but can generate a callback for team leads or senior advisors to complete. So unfortunately, we reached the top of the hour. If you could just answer in the chat room in 1 or 2 words, what did you like best about today's webinar? Today's winning tip is from Alex, who said, as part of the quality assurance checks include, did you get this right first time as a measure? If the advisor believes they didn't, call the customer back. It avoids another frustrated inbound call, leaves a great impact on the customer's impression of the business, and makes sure the advisor wants to get it right first time. So we'll be in touch, Alex, after the webinar. Just a reminder to complete the survey as you leave. And a reminder that there will be a replay later on this afternoon, and we'll be back next week with the webinar Proven Ways to Drive Up Contact Center Quality. So I just want to say thank you very much to our 2 speakers today. To Neris Caulfield, thank you very much for your insight.
That's okay, thanks, it's been great. Looking forward to trick-or-treating now.
Thank you very much. And to Jafar Adibi from TalkDesk, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Brilliant. And I will see you all next week. Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel.
Thank you.
Thanks.